Quite a trough that will be moving on down into the Central Plains and affecting the eastern half of the country eventually. For right now, you just...
Weatherscope. Well, my friend, it's going to be a rainy and windy weekend for those of you in the mid-Atlantic states and New England. Good evening and welcome to Weatherscope. I'm Dave Schwartz. For the details on this storm system responsible, let's join Warren Madden in the Forecast Center.
Thanks very much, Dave. It's pretty early in the winter season, but we've already seen a string of nor'easters working their way up the East Coast, and the latest is doing so right now. We can see where it is. It is right now sitting pretty much right over the Delmarva Peninsula, and it has been bringing copious amounts of rainfall into Pennsylvania and coming down into the headwaters of the Chesapeake Bay. And we have a very powerful upper level low centered roughly right around Winston-Salem, or maybe just a little bit to the west. But look at this big spin of moisture coming in off of the Atlantic and spinning right up into the Susquehanna River Valley and then coming in over toward Pittsburgh. Now I want to point out that we've got two moisture flows here. The one I just pointed out, another one heading up in just clipping Cape Cod, and then between the two, kind of a drier area in here. That's important. I'll be getting back to that shortly. But let's take a look at where the rain is falling right now. As you can see, the darker green showing some very heavy rain running over from State College and reaching down in toward Gettysburg and then coming over into the Johnstown area where you're seeing heavy rain right now. And Pittsburgh also picking up some rain at the present time. In this area, we have seen anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of precipitation here over the last 6 to 12 hours, and numerous flood warnings are in effect, stretching all the way up from northeast of Pittsburgh, coming down in toward the Gettysburg area, pretty much in this area here, and then extending down across parts of northern and northwestern Maryland and even into northern Virginia. Now remember I said that other areas were not seeing the rain. Well, look at this. New York City, dry. That is the dry slot I was mentioning. We do have a kind of a very windy evening in New York City, winds gusting up to 36 miles an hour at LaGuardia Airport, and we're seeing some fairly gusty winds here across Cape Cod as well, although it looks like the rain mostly into Plymouth County and coming down in toward the Buzzards Bay region. Staying right around the area of New England, well, we're looking at some waves. And the waves from the south shore of Boston, Situate, Massachusetts. Waves kicking up. We could see some very strong winds, gale force winds here over the next 12 to 24 hours as our storm works northward. And standing by live, the crew that took these pictures now in Chatham, Massachusetts at the elbow of the Cape, Jim Cantori. Jim, fill us in on what's happening right now there on Cape Cod.
Well, Warren, you mentioned the elbow of the Cape, and it's always easy when folks don't know where New England is. It's just where Chatham is in New England. Is to just go like this, and I'm, Boston. Here's the Cape, and here's Chatham, right down and through here on the elbow, and that's, of course, where it gets its name. But we're right here at the Fisherman's Pier. Typically, the fishermen come on in, especially during the summer months, and bring in their catch, and we reap the benefits of that in some absolutely fantastic seafood. But that season is over for the most part. A lot of the fishermen have kind of packed things up. And with stormy weather like this kicking in, the winter season stormy pattern, folks aren't expected to head out anytime soon. But as you mentioned, the storm, very complex. There's an upper level system affecting obviously the mid-Atlantic regions, and we really haven't gotten into the full effects of this storm, and we don't expect to till tomorrow night. So here we are in New England, third straight weekend washout. The folks obviously concerned that, hey, we don't want this pattern to set up where we're getting wet every weekend. So, of course, we, being the meteorologists, will have to do something about that. Other than that, we'll be here to cover it for you, Warren. Right now, just a little light rain. Winds less than gale force coming in off the water. Back to you.
Okay, Jim, thanks very much. We'll be checking back with you in a half an hour. Jim mentioned the winds. Want to show you real quick the gale warnings from Eastport all the way down to Fenwick Island, Delaware. Could see wind gusts up over 40 miles an hour, so please batten down the hatches. Hey, stay tuned. We'll be coming back with a lot more for you. And if you want more details on the storm and where it's heading, check out our website at weather.com. Now for the forecast for the rest of the nation, back to Dave Schwartz in the studio.
Thank you, Warren. Turning our attention to the rest of the country now. High pressure gave those of you in the southwest plenty of sunshine and warm weather, while in the Pacific Northwest we saw rain off and on today. Let's check on current conditions. Our satellite image shows you where the stormy weather is right now. Along the east coast, still a lot of low clouds, or clouds that are kind of hard to see here in a satellite image. You see the back edge of them right in there. Kansas City was under the clouds, but it was a nice sunny day in Hutchinson, Kansas. And it was another cloudy and cool day here in the Twin Cities and in Chicago, but we expect a lot of these to erode away for you just in time tomorrow. These are just high, thin clouds over Texas in association with the subtropical jet stream. But here in the Pacific Northwest, now northern Rockies, we've got some inclement weather and a little upper level disturbance. Notice these clouds heading that way and these heading this way. There's a little circulation. We had a few sprinkles last hour in Bakersfield, California. Well, these two things are going to come together. And I'll tell you what I mean by things here in just a minute or two. Got rain tonight in Spokane. A lot for Spokane, really, about a third of an inch today. Pendleton's had the better part of an inch of rain. And in the Tri-Cities in south central Washington, it is coming down. Here in Seattle, just cloudy skies. Portland, same story. A few sprinkles on I-5, but otherwise not much trouble. But eventually...
WeatherScope.
It's going to be windy and rainy for parts of the Mid-Atlantic and New England. Good evening. Welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Paul Emmick. For all the details on the big system responsible for all this mess, let's join